last 2 weeks, I have found just how much work it is to actually make a new video every single week. It's amazing to me the amount of time that goes into a 5 to 7 minute video. It's just crazy the number of hours. That being said, I am working on 2 new videos, but neither of them are really ready to be released yet. Luckily, I've got a good friend named Tyler Besh, who back in 2017, when we were both living in Tucson, created a video for me about a shoot that I did. This particular shoot was at an abandoned warehouse outside of Tucson, and we talk about things like shooting film on location, what kind of film I was shooting, the cameras that I was using. It's this kind of like cool interview style thing. So if you guys want to see me when I had slightly shorter hair, I drove a VW Bug from 1970 that was dressed like Herbie. I loved that car. And I lived in Tucson, Arizona instead of here in New York City, then go ahead and watch this. It's something good. Yep.
And go for it.
Hi guys, my name's Taylor. I'm a photographer here in Tucson, Arizona. We are here with my car today, Herbie number 53, and I've got Tyler Besh behind the lens over there recording me on his fantastic red, what is it, a red?
Epic?
Epic? A red Epic.
Epic, dude.
It is super epic. And we're here also to talk about some epic, transition, epic film photography, 35mm and 120 that we shot at this location 3 days ago with a model, and we are gonna talk about the gear that I used. Bugs. The smallest format that we used here was 35mm film, the actual film, not digital stuff. We have the Canon FT-QL, which is actually the first camera that I ever picked up. Was not the first camera ever, but the first real camera ever that I used. It was a gift from my grandfather. This is not that one, but it was the same exact lens and the same exact camera combo that I learned on. So it's held a very dear place inside of my heart. I love the way that this lens renders. It's the 55mm f1.2, and it's basically before they had L lenses, they had these lenses, and I can't remember exactly what that's called. I think it's a SCC or CSL or WXYZ awesome lens. This is deodorant because when you're on a shoot, you never know.
Dude, Old Spice has got to pay you for that.
Moving up in format, we are looking at the Pentax 645N there. So this is the middle version. This is when they first introduced autofocus into this line. I do not have any autofocus lenses because the primary reason why I got this was so that I could shoot my Pentax 6.7 lenses on a smaller format and not use as much film for test shoots, essentially. This is the Pentax 6.7 fisheye, 35mm. Got some schmutz on it. I don't know if you can see through here, but there's rear filters on this. And I gotta figure out where the dial is. There it is, it's up front. So, see that change?
Oh, I saw it.
So
oh, yellow!
Internal filters.
Red.
You know, so when you're shooting black and white, you can do all that stuff without trying to mess around with trying to put filters on it, because clearly there's not filter threads on this actual lens itself. This is, it's nice. It's very nice. This is my go-to setup these days, and I'm actually planning on going to Italy next month, and I will be working with this. I'll probably be bringing this. Who cares? You know, it's super heavy, and I'm okay with it. Yeah, it's worth it. You know, when honestly people complain about like the size of mirrorless cameras now, I'm like, screw you guys. All right, look at this.
Wow.
I walk around other countries with this thing, but it's so pretty. You sacrifice for the fact that you get a particular rendition, right? You sacrifice for the result that you're getting. We're gonna talk about film now. I used this stuff, clearly not inside of the bulk spool, but it's the Superior 400. I got a really great deal on this from Freestyle Photo. They were having like a clearance. I got these for like 20 bucks each. I bought 10 of them because I'm a hoarder. As far as the 120 goes, which is what I would use in the 645N, and in the 6.7, I will start with this because it's most standard stuff. Portra 400, beautiful film. It's just you know, if you're getting into film photography, or if you are I don't know, trying to venture into it in a professional sense, then I really suggest this because it's a reasonable price point per roll, and it's also just a really clean, beautiful rendition. The colors tend to be pretty accurate. The colors are neutral, so it's designed really for portraiture, hence Portra, and it's yeah, it's good stuff. So it's also really pushable. You can push this up to 3200. That's okay. Much better, at least, than Portra 400 or Portra 800. Sorry, is Portra 800 is the big brother to the Portra 400. Now, Portra 400 is a much more versatile film. Portra 800 tends to be, it's great because it's a stop faster, right? So you can use it for the sense that you can shoot at 800 without having to push your film at all. So if you're sending that to a lab and they have a push charge, then you don't have to do that. If you have a situation where you just want it to be a little bit cleaner, then you can shoot this. Now with any negative film, you might want to, you know, you always want to err on the side of overexposure, especially with this film though, because it tends to get pretty muddy pretty fast inside of the actual shadows. And I wouldn't suggest pushing this past maybe 1600, maybe 3200 at the very most. I believe I shot one roll here where I metered it at 3200. All right, I'm sorry, I metered it at 1600. I'm gonna have the lab push it to 3200 just to give it that extra chemical push to make sure the shadows come through. Now I acknowledge totally that it's going to be a muddy, kind of grainy, nasty looking thing, but that was intentional. So if you are going for a particular look, then this can be really great, but it's not nearly as versatile as this stuff, the Portra 400, right? So generally speaking, I use this all the time. I bought this kind of on a whim because they were also, again, having a sale on it. Here's the black and white that I shot during our shoot here. I've heard that this is rebranded Fomapan or some other film, but it is definitely just, it's whatever stock they have at the moment. They put it into these paper rolls and then they send it out. But the current stock right now, as of 2017, late 2017, is awesome. It's super, super pretty. The grain structure is really tight and wonderful. And I can push it up to 1600, no problem. So that's cool. The other black and white film that I shot was over Delta 3200. And that is gorgeous. It's one of my very favorite films in the entire world. You know, again, because I grew up on 35 millimeter, I became very used to the big grain that happens when you push, let's say, like Tri-X or something like that. So it's one of the reasons why I still shoot film, is because you kind of get that grit and you get a little bit of that, the look that you have to process digital to achieve in order to kind of mimic this result. My theory is, why don't you just shoot something that will actually give you the result in the first place instead of trying to recreate it in post. So I really love Delta 3200. Big, fat, it's like somebody poured sand and gravel all over your photo, but in the best way. Just like pretty, wonderful, has a little bit of a glowy quality to it sometimes. Really, really nice film. And the cool thing is, if you're ever in a situation where you're just screwed on light, like we were at the very end of our shoot here the other day, we had like 10 minutes left of any light in the sky at all. And so I threw a roll of that into 645N, so I got 16 last shots of the model, whose name was Jenn, and she was awesome too. We got 16 shots of her in this really beautiful white dress. And it was, you know, the sun was barely making any more light in the sky. It had gone down 20 minutes before, and so we're working with no light at all. I was still able to rattle off 16 shots at 6400, so you can push this film really far, and I've seen people push it to 12,800 also. So it's one of the only films that is available where you can really push it that far and get usable results. Should we talk about anything else?
No. Tell them that before we end, you're gonna go into super slow motion montage.
Oh, Tyler would like me to inform you that we are now entering a super slow motion montage. So of the shoot. So get ready for that, because here it comes.